Hello everyone, it's Isaac here and welcome back to the channel. Christmas is nearly here and it's getting rather chilly outside, so I thought it would be the perfect time to whip up some gingerbread cookies. These are awesome to have in front of a fireplace with a cup of tea. It's really easy and I had a ton of fun making them, so let's get started. We want our cookies to be nice and light, so let's begin by passing our flour, bicarbs and ground ginger through a sieve to get lots and lots of air into the mixture. If you want a bit more of a kick to your cookies, feel free to add more ground ginger. There's no such thing as too much, especially in this cold weather. Okay, once we're done, we want to incorporate some very cold butter into the mix. And the best way to do this, and the easiest way to do this, is to use a food processor. You can do this by hand by rubbing the butter into the mixture, but make sure you don't do it for too long so the butter doesn't melt. So it's really important that we don't overwork the flour and the gluten here, otherwise we'll get a very tough cookie. So just pulse your food processor until you get fine crumbs just like this. Now at this point we want to transfer the mixture back into our mixing bowl and then very gently mix in our light brown sugar. Just make sure it's evenly distributed throughout the mixture. It doesn't need to be perfect. Again, try not to overwork the flour. Once you're done, just set it aside and we can move on to the egg mixture. To help the dough bind together, we're just going to mix an egg with some golden syrup. Now golden syrup is a very popular brand in the UK. If you don't have it where you are, feel free to replace it with any kind of corn syrup or even honey. Once you're ready, you can put your dry ingredients back into the food processor and start to mix in your egg mixture very slowly and pulse with your food processor at the same time. Just to make sure we don't overmix, we can stop once the dough comes loosely together, just like this. We'll finish bringing the dough together by hand, so put the dough onto your work surface and knead it gently with your hands until it comes together into a giant ball. Once you're done, just wrap it in cling film or plastic and leave it in the fridge for 15 to 30 minutes for it to rest. This will firm up the dough and makes it a lot easier to roll out later on. This next step is completely optional, but I decided to add some stem ginger into my cookie dough just to mix things up a little bit. They do taste great, but to be honest, as decorations, you're probably better off sticking with icing, as you'll see later on. Okay, so now that dough's firmed up a little bit, we can roll it out. It's always good to dust the surface lightly with some plain flour so your dough doesn't stick. Using a large rolling pin, we just want to get the mixture to about ½ centimetre thick. And if you're not familiar with working with dough, just make sure you roll in all directions, because you don't want one end to be thicker than the other. And once it's about ½ centimetre thick, we can cut it into our favourite shapes. Feel free to have some fun with this, but I've gone with the boring traditional gingerbread man along with some pigs and birds. And just before they go in the oven, I'm just giving them some eyes and a smile, but you can do whatever you want here and really have some fun. So you want to bake these at about 170 degrees Celsius for 15 minutes. And while we wait for the gingerbread man to cook, is a good time to make some icing. I've stuck with a very simple recipe of just icing sugar and warm water, and then I've put this into a piping bag for use later on. So you can start piping your icing onto your cookies once they've cooled down, just like this. And as you can see, my piping skill is not the best. Maybe that's why the gingerbread man's quite angry that I've made him look terrible. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoy this recipe. It really is fun decorating these and it's perfect for this time of the year. And as usual, the full recipe's down in the description box below. Let me know how you guys get on, and I'll catch you in the next one.